Hello. Hi, it's me and Nanoo. Hopefully this goes well. I have my phone propped up on some junk in my office and we're on the floor. We're going to do a quick bandaging video. I know y'all had some to watch online, but there were a couple things that I just wanted to point out. And he's very good boy, says bellies. It's time for belly rubs. So if there were some sort of open wound on this leg, we would want to use our non-adherent dressing or telfa pad so that the bandage material didn't stick to the wound. We could treat it with a honey. We could treat it with an antibiotic ointment, whatever we needed to deal with the open wound, laceration, whatever it is we're trying to cover up, fix from this with this bandage. We're going to do his back leg here. It's actually not the jacked up back leg because this is the side he was laying on, so we're going to use this leg. So some of the supplies that we're going to want are, stirrups, first of all. It's kind of a personal preference with stirrups. It's supposed to help keep the bandage from sliding down, but I've seen bandages with stirrups slide down. I've seen bandages without stirrups stay up. So it's kind of a personal preference. I'll do them so you can see what they're like today. But that's white tape, and you use a tongue depressor to keep the tape from sticking together, two pieces of tape from sticking together. It's hanging right here, there. And I have a tongue depressor on one of them, and it's going to keep it from sticking to each other while I wrap my bandage before I fold it back on itself. So I would start with my telfa pad, and then I would get my stirrups. And I have this stirrup with a tongue depressor stuck to it. And if you have wounds on your animal, you have to avoid the wounds with the tape, obviously. He's going to be a turkey. Traditionally, my stirrups kind of go on the outside, lateral and medial sides, outside and inside of my paw, of my leg. And the tongue depressor is past his toes. You see that? So I stick my white tape down, and you're going to behave and be a good boy. And then I get my other piece of white tape, put it on the medial surface of this leg. Sorry, my toes are in the way. Oh my gosh, you guys. I'm a hot mess. And then I will stick this piece of tape to the other side of my tongue depressor. So I have tongue depressor in between two pieces of white tape. And then I would go to my primary layer, which in this case is my cast padding. And one thing that I wanted to point out that's not clear in all the videos, rolling off the roll is much easier than rolling this way. So I'm going to turn my roller. It's probably not what you're used to. If you think about a roll of tape, I don't have a choice, right? I don't have a choice but to roll off like over this way because that's my sticky side. This is not. I don't have a choice. But with these other things that aren't adhesive, I have a choice. I can roll it off this way, which once you're trying to wrap a leg, you'll find is very awkward, or I can flip it over and roll it off this way, and it's much easier. So I'm going to start with my cast padding. I guess my secondary layer. My primary would have been my telfa. Start with my secondary layer, and I'm going to start leaving those two toes, digits 3 and 4, exposed. And I'm going to start wrapping from the distal portion of my leg. I could do with a little bit wider cast padding. You do not need to eat this. He's eating the cast padding. You can't have this to eat right now. Give me this. Give me this. Thank you. And as I start wrapping around my leg, Nanoo, God, stop, please. Every round of my cast padding, please stop. This is a disaster. Stop. Good boy. Oh, that's a good boy. Every layer is going to cover the previous wrap by half. Nanoo, I need you to stop. It's not going to stay on very long. Please let go. Let go. Lie down. Good boy. So I'm going to cover that by about 50%. In a second, I'll pick up the camera and show you. So I'm rolling off kind of backwards off my roll, and each round of my cast padding, Nanoo, please stop eating this. Each round is going to cover the previous roll. Hold on. Stop. By 50%. Sorry, right? Where's the leg? Right there. So That's about half the width of my cast padding, about half the width of my cast padding, and on up the leg. Okay, so I continued wrapping up this leg. Important thing to remember is no matter where the wound is, if you're just covering a laceration, no matter where the wound is, we're always going to start at these toes. I'm going to keep these toes hanging out. We're going to start our bandage distal and work proximal. It's important to make sure you don't have any wrinkles in this on these layers underneath. And what we're shooting for is to try to make the circumference of the leg the same. As you know, dogs' legs are not the same width, same thickness all the way from, the stifle to the toes. So we're shooting for more padding in areas that are naturally smaller so that we end up with a bandage that is the same circumference all the way. So super important if you're using a cast, like a splint that you've made out of casting material or a spoon splint to prevent those pressure sores. So I'm continuing to wrap my cast padding until I get it padded pretty well. And so the areas where the leg is naturally smaller in diameter, circumference, I will put more padding. So my layers are going to overlap more than 50% probably. So I get more padding. I'm probably going to run out of cast padding before I get this wrapped appropriately, but you'll be able to get the clue. So I've gone all the way up my leg. I've gone all the way back down my leg, and I'm going to keep going. I still need a little bit more here over his metatarsals, really, because that's a pretty skinny area for Nanoo. I'm going to continue wrapping until I've gotten this bandage to look pretty close to the same circumference all the way up and down this limb. Okay, pretty puffy. That's good. I could probably do with some more padding, but that is the extent of my cast padding that I have. All right, so at this point, we're going to take our clean gauze. Again, I'm going to roll this off like this, not like this. It's going to be awkward. It's going to be hard to deal with this roll. It's going to be easy to lose it and make this go rolling across the floor. So I'm going to take it and turn it so that basically the outside of the roll is what I'm laying down on my patient. And with this gauze, you can actually get this too tight, so you want to be careful. We're not squeezing the fire out of it to lay it down. Kind of just laying it down on our cast padding. Can put a little bit of pressure, but not a bunch. If you have a lot of cast padding, you can put more pressure. I don't have a ton, so I'm not putting a lot. And I did not come prepared with scissors, so there you go. At this point is when I would take my stirrups and fold them up. So I'm going to take one piece of tape off my tongue depressor. And now sticky side here, I twist it half a turn. So now my sticky side can lay against my bandage. And then I do the same thing with this side. Take my tongue depressor off, make a half turn. My sticky side is now able to stick down to my cast padding. If it didn't have hair all stuck to it, which it kind of does. So now my stirrups are on. Awesome. And if you wanted to finish this roll gauze to secure those stirrups, making sure that it's laying down flat without a bunch of wrinkles. There you go. Now I'm ready for my tertiary layer, my vet wrap. So as you know, vet wrap is very stretchy, and this is the layer that can get too tight and cause circulation issues. So we want to make sure that we're not stretching this out before we lay it down. A couple of ways that you can do that. One is to unroll the entire roll that you are going to use before you start. and then roll it back on to itself. I have a tendency to mess this up, so I don't generally do that step, but I do unroll it as I go. I am still going to roll off my roll this way instead of this way. I promise it's going to make it easier. So I'm still going to start down at my toes, and the important thing about this is I always want to leave a little bit of my secondary layer showing. I don't want to cover it up because I don't want vet wrap right on skin ever. So I've already stretched off some of this, and I'm just going to now lay it on my patient. Once I get to the area where I haven't unrolled it, I'll like unroll it a little bit and then let the stretch go back and lay it down. So now I'm at the point where I haven't unrolled this all the way. So I'll unroll it here, let the stretch back in, and then continue, let it roll it, stretch back in. Unroll a little bit, stretch it back in. I tend to make a mess if I unroll the whole roll and try to put it back together. Then it's all stuck to itself and I've made a giant mess of things. So I unroll as I go. But the easiest part, what's going to make it easier is if you roll it off the roll backwards than what you think you should. And we're just going to keep going up this leg until we get to the top, and we'll probably come back down. Keep on going. He's being a much better boy now. I didn't drug him or anything, I promise. Just told him he was being naughty and he needed to stop, and now he's being good. So again, once I get to the top, I'm going to leave a little bit of my cast padding showing. I don't want to cover it up all the way because I don't want this vet wrap right on the skin without padding underneath. His head's in the way, isn't it? Get your head a little bit. So I still have some of my cast padding showing here. And then I would take this on down, finish out this roll. So the last thing I wanted to point out is you can do a little bit of elasticon at the top. That will stick to the skin. It will cover the cast padding that's exposed. It will hurt when you take it off, so be gentle and be careful and don't overdo it. And I usually like to make a little elasticon foot pad here so that he has something to walk on that's a little bit stronger than cast padding and vet wrap. I don't have any elasticon, but it's the brown, big, really sticky tape, and I would make him a little foot pad around here to make this a little more strength for him to walk on. Okay, I hope you've enjoyed this mess and this Nanoo. Oh, it's belly time again. There. Okay, bye.